everybody, it's Allie. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Allie. And today we're going to be chatting about a photography editing workflow. So what do I mean by my workflow? When I'm working on images, I tend to do things in a very specific order, and I tend to do the same things on almost every image. So I'm going to do a little demo on that. And why would you want to have a workflow is because it will give you more consistent results. So I'm going to do a quick tutorial, show you how I do it. I actually hate speed edits, so I'm not doing a speed edit. I'm not going to do the actual edits. I think you get more value out of me just kind of going through it step by step and explaining what I did on each layer and what that process is. And if there's some specific part of my workflow that you would like more information on, just leave it in the comments, and I probably can do that for you. So here's my workflow. Okay, so here's the image straight out of camera, and I love the lighting pattern. I really like how it's lit, but some of the things that I don't like are the wrinkles in the background. Okay, I got lazy, brand new background, did not steam it before this shoot, big mistake. The other thing is there's some like gapping in the fabric here that I think is just a little bit distracting. So, and of course I'm going to do some color toning and some dodging and burning. So here's my workflow. The first thing I want to do is get rid of any stuff that's distracting. So see this here, this is a blank layer. And what I did was I went in and I just cleaned up the background. That's it. Just cleaned up her background and got rid of the wrinkles. So then I add a dodge and burn layer, and where I really focus on a lot of my dodging and burning is going to be getting like the face to look just a little bit brighter. So see, this area has been brightened up. I kind of highlighted a little bit onto the eyeshadow to bring out the magical look of the eyeshadow. So after the dodging and burning, I made a stamped layer. And after I stamped it, I took it into Liquify. And I fixed two things. I wanted to poof up her hair a little bit, and I wanted to fix this arm. So as you can see, I brought it, you can see the hair gets a little poofier. I used a bloat tool, and I pushed in the shape of these wrinkles to be more natural. And then I add a blank layer, and I kind of cleaned it up because I wanted this to be a lot smoother. And then the next thing I do, I like to start getting into my color toning. So I added a curves layer. And if you want to see what that looks like, it's a pretty standard curves layer. Drag it down for the shadows, up for the highlights. And that brings out the contrast. And then I added a hue and saturation layer. But this here, and I'm going to show you the mask, what I was doing on this one, and because you could see I took it off of the hair, and I actually took it off of pretty much anything that I wanted to keep the red, is I was desaturating her skin. So if you go to the reds, you can see that the skin is lower and less saturated and a little brighter. And if you go to the yellows, I did the same thing. What I didn't want to ruin was her hair and her tattoos. But we are going for the look of fine china. And I want her to actually look a little like china when I'm done. There is where I took it into Alien Skin Exposure, and I added a filter onto it that, as you can see, it really, really nailed the reds a lot. And then I'm going to show you this layer mask. This layer mask is an apply image, and so everything that's white in this layer mask is getting the effect. Everything that's black is not getting the effect. And so what that does is it applies this filter only to the bright parts of the image, because once again, I'm really going for that pottery look. I added another dodge and burn layer, and here you can really see it in the hair. I like to highlight the hair, make it look more lustrous. And I don't know what I did on this layer, but It's either nothing or I was doing some random little fix of something that I saw that's pretty small. And last, I added some color toning. I decided to bring a little color back into her face, but you can see I masked it off of a lot of her skin, and I masked it off of the background because I wanted to keep the background fairly desaturated and not warm but cool. So this was an apply layer and some messy brushing, but that gave me this effect where you can see it brought a little bit more warmth back into her skin and a lot more warmth into her hair. But basically, my workflow is fix the background, do some dodging and burning, just fix. When I finally get to the point that I'm happy with the fixes, I get in there with the toning. I do color toning. If I'm going to do a filter, I rarely just take a filter and slap it on 100% and leave it that way. I'm usually using it in sections. Once the filter comes back, I add some more dodging and burning, color toning, and that's it. That's a typical workflow. So I want to make a point here. That was my Photoshop workflow. Prior to getting to that point, there's the culling of images, there's the rating of images, which I do in Lightroom. And there's that, I gotta figure out which images I'm gonna edit. And then after I've got everything culled and I get everything to a kind of a point where I know which ones I like, I've rated them with stars and flags and done all that, then I will sometimes I'll do some quick adjustments in Lightroom and then take them into Photoshop. Sometimes I just take them into Photoshop. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you enjoyed it and if you've learned something, give me a like. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you next week, Friday, 3 o'clock. Have a great day.